I've been working on getting all the achievements in Resident Evil 1, and I'm down to just a couple left. One of them, beating the game in under 3 hours. The other, beating it without saving. Simple, right? Just throw it on very easy. What could go wrong?
And nothing can go wrong! Oh no, it all went wrong!
Well, the Star Stenol achievement requires that I beat it in under 3 hours on at least normal, so I can unlock the 2 infinite guns. But I mean, it's not like it's hard mode, so it can't be that hard, right? So we start like most Resident Evil runs do, and have Brad abandon us while we head to the Spencer mansion. Where did Chris go? Well, he's probably fine. We make our way to the first zombie and let Barry take care of it. After realizing Wesker is now gone, we can truly begin our journey. Now, I've played Resident Evil for a couple times now, but it's been a little bit since I played, so my memory was a little hazy, which is perfect when you're trying to do a speedrun. But we grab the arrow in the mirror hallway and make our way to the graveyard to grab the sword key. So we then can make our way to the shotgun room, but before that we grab the amazingly named chemical. And as we try to leave with the shotgun,
oh God, what did I do now? Wesker! Barry! Help!
Jill! You in there?
Barry? Get me out of here! The door's jammed!
Stand back! Grab my hand!
Barry!
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
after talking about Jill's buns almost being a perfect sandwich, we go up to the stairs where I purposely forget the dog whistle and have to run all the way back to get it. But thanks to Barry giving me some acid rounds, my inventory was full, so I politely asked this guy to move and waste my herbs so I don't have to go back to the item chest. But we'll be back here again because I ended up forgetting something else. This is going great. So using the dog whistle in this specific area, we summon a very specific dog that has a collar on it that has a replica key. And then we take that key and place it in a booby trap so we can get the real key. Because how else would you hide a key? With the armor key, I can now reach everything I need to get through the first portion of the game, being 4 masks that will open up a coffin in the graveyard. So we head on to grab our first one, but before that, we get this.
I crave violence.
With this and the shotgun, the pistol becomes almost worthless, but I still have to be smart not to waste the ammo because the zombies are nothing compared to what else is in this game. Soon we come across Richard, who got bit by a giant snake and needs serum. So we get him that so that we can sacrifice him to that same snake later.
Wait, what?
I finally realize that I do need the lighter, so I go back to grab it because I have to light up the candle in this room because according to Jill, it is too dark to see anything. We grab the sheet music because before we can get to the snake, we need to have the key to the attic. And how do we get this key, you may ask? We have to go to the piano room and play the Moonlight Sonata, opening up a secret door where we replace this golden emblem with the old one from the fireplace and put the golden one into the fireplace, opening up this clock, set it to 6 p.m. to unlock a separate compartment which holds the attic key, because the dog collar puzzle just wasn't enough. I do take a detour in the middle of this though, and go ahead and use up the chemical that's been sitting in my inventory in the greenhouse, where we kill this plant that was guarding it. Fun fact, there actually wasn't an option to choose where the chemical comes out of in the original, and if you decide to go with the second option, all it does is kill the large rack of herbs, so there's absolutely no reason to ever turn on the green hose. But with that, we obtain our first of 4 masks. And with that small detour, we head into the attic where, surprise, there was indeed a giant snake, but we actually don't have to fight it at all. All we have to do is grab the mask, and Richard, making his grand return, gets eaten by the snake. But hey, new shotgun. But before we do leave, the snake does manage to poison me, which is horrible, because the game wants me to go get the serum like we did for Richard, but we don't have the time for that.
I think I broke something.
Lock it
And I do remember there being a blue herb in the courtyard, which you can use to heal poison. So I pressed on ignoring it, because I can just use the blue herb later, right? With our second mask, the last two are behind two simple puzzles, one having to push statues into place, and two having to turn on colored lights to match this lady at the end. And upon hitting this switch opens up a secret pathway leading right into the graveyard, so we can immediately go ahead and put the 4 masks into place, releasing the chains from this coffin. This releases our first actual boss fight, being a powered up Crimson Head zombie. And he's already dead. But with that, we get the stone and metal object, which can be set into this pedestal, which opens up the door to the courtyard, and ending the first major section of the game. Which, as you may recall, I am poisoned. So before pressing on, I quickly grab the blue herb and go to use it, and I'm still poisoned. I suppose the poison from the giant snake is just too powerful, and the game requires you to actually go back to the medicine room to get the serum. So you know what that means? I have to go all the way back.
Stupid dog!
Surely I couldn't do anything stupid like this again, right? I mean, this is a speed run, so it would probably be really stupid of me to manage to do something like this again. So our next objective is to head out to the residence, as it's called, but before we can do that, we need a crank to release the water from the dam so we can cross. And where is that crank, you may ask? Well, it's obviously hidden away in another separate house, but before we head out, we get bitch slapped and knocked unconscious. Thankfully though, instead of killing us or taking anything, this creature nicely sets us on the floor and waits for us to wake up so we can easily run past her and escape. Using our newly found crank, we release the dam heading into the residence. This is the real second section of the game, which as long as you know where to go and what to do, it's pretty straightforward. Heading into the rec room, we find giant-ass spiders. But all we really need from here is this book.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
So we grab that and get the fuck out of there. Heading down this hallway, we overhear Barry talking to someone, and after questioning him, he tells us that he was just talking to himself. Sure, buddy. But either way, we move these bookshelves, revealing a not-so-secret ladder, which takes us down into an underground facility, which leads to this cool-ass water tank, which contains sharks, because the giant-ass spiders weren't enough for these people. But after a definitely not anxiety-inducing puzzle, we drain the water, leaving the sharks to suffocate and die. But before we can grab the gallery key, by the way this single key is the entire reason we have to go through this underground area, one of the sharks decides he ain't about to go out like this. But we just throw this machine in what's left of the water and electrocute the fucker. So after that we can finally grab the gallery key, and heading up back into the residence we can use the key to get into, well, you know, the gallery, where we grab this bug spray to deal with this nest of bees, which led us into this room, where we can use that book from earlier to arrange the other books into something that would get me demonetized, which opens up the area to the next boss. But instead of going in guns blazing, we definitely don't brute force our way into this room, which lets us mix up the chemical V-Jolt, which going all the way back into the underground facility, we can use the V-Jolt on this plant, roots, thus skipping the entire boss fight. Now, is this faster than going in guns blazing?
Shit, I don't even know,
But after all that trouble, what does that get us? You guessed it, another key. This key is actually the last one needed to unlock every door in the mansion, which ends the second section of the game. But before we leave, we meet up with Wesker, who's been doing who knows what, but asks if we have seen Barry acting weird, which after basically calling us a snack and pretending to talk to himself, we agree. And he urges us to check back in the mansion. This is the third section where we'll need to go back through the mansion to get a lot of things. 2 separate medals, which we'll need for the endgame, a battery for an elevator back in the courtyard, and then another one of the umbrella emblems. So actually just 4 things. Luckily, as long as you know where you're going, it's pretty much a straightforward path back through. But as we make our way, we are greeted by this cutscene. These guys are hunters, and are humanoid lizard people who are a lot stronger than the zombies were, and okay, he's dead. These guys can be super scary because they have an insta-kill attack, but the grenade launcher is more than enough to take care of them. And I mean, even if I were to die, I could just reload a save. Oh right, I'm doing this without saving. After dispatching the 2 hunters in this main hall, and totally not freaking out when one of them hit me into the red, we continue on to a room where the walls close in on each other. But it's fine because this statue blocks the way, with the puzzle being just to hit this button to get enough room to move the statue in place. And we jump into this totally promising and not ominous hole. In here we find a book which contains one of the first 2 medallions, and we hit this button to open this convenient passageway, where we can turn on the power to an elevator in the kitchen, which leads up to the room where we can find the battery. And with that, making our way to the library, we encounter a Crimson Head, so we quickly take care of him, and we take a small detour unlocking this one room we'll get back to. But as for now, well fuck, he didn't die. So after letting the Crimson Head take a bite out of that Jill sandwich, we properly dispose of him, and decide we should go ahead and deal with that other room first. Totally not because I got scared as fuck and needed to calm down. In here we get this red gem, which is going to be the start of another complicated key retrieval mission. But for right now we prepare for our next, and now I think the only second actual boss fight of this run. That snake from earlier? Yeah, he's back. But sadly, we don't have another Richard to sacrifice, so we are forced to take him out. He's not really that hard. He's too slow to really touch me in this bigger area compared to the attic. And after blasting him a couple times, he decides he can't take this shit no more, and bangs his head on these bookcases, conveniently knocking down the book containing the second medallion. Now all that's left is getting the second umbrella emblem, which is behind a locked door. So using the red gem from earlier, we nicely tell this guy to move to get this box, which after inserting the red gem, has us arrange shattered pieces to open it, revealing the key to the room holding the emblem, metal object. But unlike our stone and metal objects, this one is severely lacking in some stone, and where can we find some? Well, in the mines, of course.
Creeper? Oh man.
After finally finishing our exploration of the mansion for the second time, we head back through the courtyard using that battery from earlier to power this elevator, letting us to be able to get to the other side of the dam without needing it to be erased. Without the water flowing, it reveals a passage behind where the waterfall was. We head into this door on the right where we meet this guy. Okay, well that guy's dead, but he had another crank, so that's pretty cool. Using this crank, we were somehow able to move this section of rock so we can walk across it. How does this work? Making our way through here, we meet this guy. Now this is another boss you don't really need to kill, as all you need to do is knife the webbing off this door. But feeling confident in myself, I decided to take him on anyway. You know, for fun. We make our way into this room, and after a fun puzzle of push this thing onto this thing, so you can properly move it onto this thing, we get this cylinder thing. Using our cylinder thing, we're able to power up this elevator, leading us further down into the cavern, where Barry, of all people, decides to show up again after all this time. Barry tells us to go on ahead while he guards our way out, so we head into the unknown where this bitch decides to show her face again. But she's too slow to be a threat. So we make our way through where there's another locked door, but this time, we don't need a key, we need a flamethrower. Obviously, but it's inside of this box, so we send it back to where the elevator is, where there's conveniently a trash compactor. When...
Barry!
Well, that asshole. Despite the pain in our hearts of Barry's bitch ass abandoning us like your dad did, we break the box, letting us place the flamethrower onto this hook thing, which unlocks the door. Could we have used anything else?
Perhaps.
But either way, heading through leads us to this creepy ass doll room, and after noping out of there, we find our fabled stone object. Taking this ladder somehow leads back to the crazy lady's house of all places, and after combining our stone object with our metal one, we can finally get our second metal and stone object. After removing the first one from the pedestal after all this time, we can put both of them into these slots on these doors that were in the entrance of the mansion. That part was a lot shorter than most other sections, and lucky for us, this final part isn't much longer. Which around here I was hitting the 2-hour mark, so I hurried into yet another cavern where we find Barry's bitch ass. And after he tries to pull a gun on me, he cries about someone kidnapping his family and he didn't want to do it. Meanwhile, this bitch is back and Barry tries to get us to give him his gun back. But after he done abandoned me and tried to shoot me, I tell his ass hell nah, and she chucks him off into the bottomless pit. With this, we can also get Barry's Magnum, which is the most powerful weapon in the game. And I definitely wouldn't forget it, because that would be stupid. But with Barry gone, that leaves us to deal with this monster alone. Which you may be thinking we have some epic fight to the death, right?
Nope.
We kinda just push these rocks off the ledge, which conveniently opens up her mother's grave, which is conveniently here. And after grabbing her mother's skull, she decides to see if the bottomless pit is really bottomless. After watching that, we head out to this fountain where we can finally use those 2 medallions we got earlier, which magically drains the water from it. This leads down to the final section of the game, an underground lab where all these mutants and viruses came from. But we aren't worried about that, we just need to finish the game. Now there are a bunch of puzzles to lead you through the lab to unlock doors, but I already know everything, so I go straight to the computer and unlock both doors. We head back up to grab this laboratory key, and this is the last key that we have to find.
Thank God. Finally!
And then using that, we head into the second area of the lab. Here we find yet again another mutant. This one is called, Chimera. It's called a Chimera. They're not really a problem though, and we take them out where we encounter the scariest part of this game. There's this canister which needs to be filled with some fuel so we can power the elevator to the final boss. But as it states, if we run or get bumped into anything at all, it will explode, killing me and loading my last save. But I don't have any saves, so I would lose the entire run. But I've also done this countless times and have already prepared the path, so I was actually completely safe. So with the elevator all powered up, we prepare Barry's Magnum to... I don't have Barry's Magnum. Barry dropped it all the way back in the crypt room, and I was supposed to pick it up. So I decide to go all the way back, risking the entire run, because this is the most powerful weapon in the game, and I was not going to fight the tyrant without it. Going down even further into the lab, we meet up with who could have guessed it? Wesker! Surprise, surprise! He was working with Umbrella this whole time. Or something. He proceeds to talk about some ultimate life form, and he releases the tyrant. It then proceeds to kill him, but it's not finished. It's hungry. And it's decided Jill's buns look like the perfect appetizer. So, we prepare ourselves for this epic final fight with this being of ungodly strength and he's dead. Barry's Magnum literally killed it in one shot. But with that, we are literally free to exit the lab, so we start booking it back towards the escape elevator, where we find some flares and can signal Brad to where we are. He comes down and gets us, thus ending the run. And we totally didn't forget anything. Hello? Anyone there?